Hey there, and welcome to the Digital Novelist Podcast. I'm Keith Hayden, and today I've got something very special for you. It's amazing how fast technology has evolved these days, and as you know, I call myself the digital novelist because I explore these different tools, if for nothing else, just to see how they're evolving and how they might help me, and by proxy, help you become a more effective and better novelist. Well, today I've stumbled across a tool that's very exciting that I just want to play the entire interview for you because what you're going to hear is an interview completely generated by AI. And if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you a little bit more about the tool that I used to create this particular interview. But it's amazingly exciting. And I'll talk a little bit more about the process at the end. So without further ado, here's the interview.
Ready to dive in. We're switching gears this time around.
Yeah, ditching the data dumps for a bit. I can get behind that.
Exactly, we're getting creative.
Oh,
This deep dive, it's into a sci-fi story. A
yeah.
whole different kind of world building.
Cereus and Limnic. Right. By Keith Hayden. It's a draft, which I actually find more exciting. Like, we get to see the gears turning.
Behind the scenes, before the curtain goes up, and trust me, this author's got some wild ideas cooking. Future California, tech gone wild. Might even be a supernatural twist in there.
See, that's what hooks you. A good story makes you wonder, not just hands you answers.
So let's meet these characters, shall we? First up, Genoa, our lead. She's a teen, super competitive, always ranking everything, even people.
Which tells you a lot about her world, right? Like, what's valued there.
And then, bam! This thing hits her, the wave. Imagine your senses going haywire. Vision blurs, hearing distorts.
Disorienting, to say the least. Leaves her vulnerable. The author really drives home that this wave is powerful.
For sure. And speaking of powerful, there's Daniel. New kid on the block, mysterious, obviously connected to Genoa somehow.
But the author keeps playing coy with it. Plus, there's something about the way Daniel talks, almost like...
Holding back, yeah, I noticed that too.
Almost poetic, but not quite. Like he's trying to say something but can't find the words. Makes you wonder what he's hiding.
Totally. And then there's Genoa's dad, Lai. Seems like your typical worried parent at first.
Right, but then you catch those hints about his past. Super secretive.
And that job of his. Let's just say
Yeah.
it's not your average 9 to 5. Definitely important to the story, though. Don't want to spoil too much yet.
Gotta keep him hooked.
Exactly. But yeah, Lai's past could be the key to everything going on, even if he's playing the dad role for now.
Ooh, I like that. And speaking of secrets, Noe starts off as a side character, but
Yeah.
there's this feeling like she's gonna be major. Strained relationship with her mom, some heavy family stuff going on.
Relatable, but also ominous.
Exactly. And then there are those nightmares she keeps having. They feel like more than just bad dreams, symbolic, maybe even connected to the wave somehow. It's like the author's dropping hints that Noe is tuned into something bigger, something we don't quite understand yet.
Ooh, I like where you're going with that.
Then there's Janus. He's introduced gradually, right? Bit by bit. And at first, all you get is charisma, like oozing out of him.
Cult leader vibes, for sure.
Right. But then slowly, you start to see the cracks, the inconsistencies. The author does this clever thing with point of view.
Ah, you mean how we're seeing Janus through the eyes of other characters, so our perception is colored by their biases.
Exactly. Early on, it's someone totally smitten with him. Describes him as moving with a dancer's grace, each gesture precise. Like, Gilda, that's someone head over heels, right? But later, different perspectives come in, people who see past the charm. And that's when things get interesting.
Okay, so we've got these layered characters, but the world building itself, man, this author gets tech. It's everywhere in this future California, but not in a cheesy way.
Oh, absolutely. It's ingrained, like those chip implants. On the surface, kind of mundane, right? Help you manage your day, communicate. But then the author drops this line almost casually about how they could be used for surveillance.
Chills.
Right.
Like that moment you realize the smart home is actually spying on you.
100%. Then you've got the Kumvals, self-sufficient communities, each with its own whole vibe, microcosms of this future society.
And this is where the tech versus humanity debate really heats up. Serious, all about progress, pushing the limits. Limnic, totally the opposite. Like, back to basics. Tech is the enemy.
And what's so good is neither side is perfect. The author makes you think, well, Sirius has a point, but also Limnic isn't wrong.
Yeah, tough choices. And then there's the back to humanity movement. Not even in a convulse, they're so extreme, like full-on tech rejection.
Makes you wonder what they've seen, right? What tipped them over the edge? There's this one scene, a character smashes her phone, says it feels like chains breaking. Powerful stuff.
Heavy. But even with all the tech anxiety, there's this glimmer of hope. Like, maybe humanity finds a way. Hold on to its soul. Jinwa's journey seems to be all about that, right? Finding that balance.
Totally. She's caught between those worlds. Tech on one side, human connection on the other. And then, of course, there's the big mystery, her mother's disappearance.
The author dangles those clues, those fragmented memories. Is it the wave? Janus somehow? Lies past? Every time you think you're close? Nope. More questions.
It's like a puzzle box, this story. Beautifully crafted, but good luck opening it without the key.
And I think one of those keys might be power. Who has it, who craves it, what they'll do to get it.
Oh, 100%. It's woven into everything. The Convillias vying for influence, the characters' personal struggles, even that scene where Jinwa's dad gets swept up in this protest that turns violent.
Stakes get real high, real fast. The line between right and wrong, blurred.
Totally. And in the middle of all that chaos, the author throws in this tiny detail. A stray dog crosses paths with Janus.
Didn't even register with me on the first read.
Right. But it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
This dog, it reacts to Janus like something's off. Subtle, but it adds to the whole atmosphere of suspicion. Like there's more going on than we realize, which, let's be honest, is kind of Hayden's signature move.
You know, it's funny, right? All this advanced tech, but the story's still about being human at its core.
Totally. Like Hayden saying, hey, we can have flying cars and brain implants, but some things, they don't change. What matters? What makes us us?
Makes you think, huh? Like we freak out about data privacy now.
Hmm?
Imagine a chip in your head that could be hacked. That's Cereus Limnic for ya. Our anxieties, but dialed up to 11.
And that's what makes it so smart. Takes those fears, weaves them into this gripping story, the back to humanity movement. They're extreme, yeah, but that longing for something simpler, I get it.
Totally. Like, have we gone too far? Is this progress, or are we building our own dystopia?
$1 million question,
Well-
right. And Hayden doesn't give you easy answers. Technology isn't good or bad on its own. It's how we use it. Even Cereus, all gung-ho about pushing limits. Are they doing it for the right reasons? Or just for power?
Which brings us back to Janus. Poster child for moral gray areas, believes he's doing good, maybe even believes it himself. But those methods, creepy.
Remember that scene? He's talking to this follower, young woman totally devoted to him. And even she hesitates, questions him. Gina says, progress requires sacrifice. Chilling.
Ugh, yeah. Who gets to decide what needs sacrificing, right?
Exactly. That's the danger. And Hayden nails it. No black and white here, just flawed people, each with their own agenda. Makes you think, if we were in Jinwa's shoes, what would we do?
And then there's still that mystery at the heart of it all. Jinwa's mom vanished. Is it the wave? Is Janus involved? Lies past. Got to be connected somehow.
So many threads, and Hayden's just dangling them. You're hooked, wandering till the very last page. It's a wild ride, and you know what? This is just a draft. I can't wait to see what he does with the full story.
Me neither. So much to unpack here. Definitely leaves you thinking.
For sure. Hayden makes you question everything. Technology, power, even your own beliefs. In a world this complex, that's more important than ever, right?
Couldn't agree more. Well, folks, there you have it. Another deep dive, another mind-bending journey. Hope you enjoyed the ride.
Now, wasn't that just amazing? Now, this is actually me recording this on the back end separately from the audio. I'm not an AI, I assure you. But what an amazing interview. And just imagine this as a tool to create it, because it really sounded like these two, it sounded like it could have been an NPR style interview where they had picked up my book, they had read it, and then they're doing this type of back and forth banter. Now, I'll admit some things are a little bit rough around the edges, like they're pronouncing names wrong. They're saying lie instead of Lee. The character's name is Lee Ma. Jinhua's name, I knew it would kind of struggle with these foreign names. Jinhua's name is of Chinese origin, and it's Jinhua, and they're obviously kind of butchering it. And they didn't say anything about one of the other major characters, Rodan, but those are that's kind of being nitpicky. It really dove into the themes of the book, and I felt like it did a very good job of what it did. So how did I make this? Well, it's a tool called NotebookLM. It's by Google. You can find it. go to notebooklm.google.com. Again, that's notebooklm.google.com, and you will find this tool. You may have to sign up for a few things as far as being a part of their, I don't know if they're still doing the AI lab thing where you have to be a part of their basically program to where you get early access to these experimental things. It's still very experimental, but I was blown away. I was just kind of smiling when I sat down. And even though the interview is not, it's not, it's AI generated, but it's about my book. It's very specific and it was very easy to create. All I did was feed it two sources. I fed it the original draft of Cereus Limnic Second Evolution, and I fed it my website. So it would have a little bit of context about me as an author. And I felt like what it put together was well synthesized. It was a good blend of talking about the actual book and then mentioning me as an author. And a lot of the things they mentioned me doing, I did do intentionally, as far as leaving breadcrumbs here and giving you these little, the way I revealed characters in the novel. It goes exactly like that. I was blown away. This is the most mind blown I've been about, and I hate using that word because it's thrown around a lot, especially with AI these last few years. But I was thoroughly surprised. This is the first thing I've been really surprised by with AI, probably in the entire year, because audio generation has been, especially voice. Um, I've tended to stay away from it because I have a podcast. I like running podcasts. I like creating audio dramas. I made an entire audio drama version of Cereus Limnic. You can find it on Spotify. Search for my name or search for Cereus Limnic. But I like doing that stuff. So the idea of outsourcing my voice or AI voice cloning or just having an AI do the audio for me is very unappealing to me in general. But the fact that this is two separate people, the fact that it does come across as very kind of natural banter, like as I was listening to it, I the quality, it sounds studio quality, the back and forth, the way they cut each other off, it's a huge leap as far as just the quality of audio. And this may seem silly to you, but if you're a novelist or you're an author or you're working on your first book, I want you to imagine this. Putting just a few inputs, just a summary of your book or maybe a few chapters or maybe the entire manuscript if you want, and having this type of interview for your book. The it's pretty amazing what you could do with it as far as marketing your book. It lends instant credibility. Um, it gives you ideas. It just gives you that confidence that what you created is is something that could be talked about in this way. It's very much like last year, or maybe it was earlier this year. I don't think it was last year that I played around with a video creator called HeyGen. And what HeyGen did was it created a video of you speaking a foreign language. So, if you don't know, I've been learning Japanese for a very long time and I'm not quite fluent yet. Well, I am fluent in some ways, but not as on command as I want to be. So, I created a video of myself speaking Japanese. And as soon as I saw my face in Japanese coming out of it, there was just this click in my mind that I could do this. It's possible. And I want you that I got the same feeling of listening to this interview that, wow, somebody someday could be talking, two people could be talking about my book like this. And it's just very interesting. And it just motivated me to want to create this bookend to this podcast. Because originally I was just gonna put out the video and, kind of join the X hype train or YouTube hype train of, oh, look at this new piece of AI tech. And that is cool. But I really wanted to make this a valuable episode as part of the Digital Novelist podcast, because this is why I called myself the digital novelist, because here we're not afraid of these tools. We don't I don't shy away from worried about them taking my job or destroying me or whatever. No, I want to learn how to leverage these tools for to get the word out, to find the right people for my stories, and I want you to be able to do the same thing with your stories. Thanks for listening to this brief episode of the Digital Novelist Podcast. You can check me out at keithhayden.net. There, I've got the Digital Novelist Toolkit. It's going to give you all sorts of tools. You've got a 7-day email mini course that I've put together that's going to help you get started. I've got a lot of the resources that I've used to become a better and more clearer novelist. You can check that out. And there's a bunch of other things on my website that will help you get started with your writing. And before I go, I'd like to thank my ride or die supporters, Joey, Robert, Philippe, Jerry, JC, and Nina. Your support means so much to me, and thank you so much for just being in my corner as I'm growing here online. I'm Keith Hayden. Thanks for listening. See you next time.